Hi everybody, welcome to Google Developers Live. My name's Ali and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Google Drive SDK. This is our last session of the year, so we thought it would be a nice idea to wrap up what we've been up to this year. It's been quite exciting. So I'm just going to run through, in a vaguely chronological order, all the features we've implemented and added to the Drive SDK this year. Once we've done that, we'll take a little sneaky peek at next year and what we have planned and the directions we're going. So thanks for joining us. As I say, last one of the year. We'll be taking a break after this, and we should be back with you in the new year. So the Google Drive SDK, well, as you all probably know, or if you don't, we launched Google Drive in April of this year. Google Drive is Google's cloud storage solution. You put files in your Google Drive and they're available to you from all your platforms, from your phone, from your tablet, from your desktop computer, from your laptop, from any way you can connect to the internet. These files are available to you. So what is the Drive SDK and what were we trying to do? Well, we thought we could add value to Google Drive, the consumer product. How are we going to do that? Well, if good apps exist in addition to the regular apps that use Google Drive, i.e. Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, Google Presentations, in addition to those, if we could allow developers to write awesome apps that edit files or create files, then that would firstly be an improvement for the user, i.e. you'd have more things that you could do from your files that are in Drive. It would be an improvement for the developers, for the people writing those software, because we would shift good numbers of customers and new customers to those applications, and so adding those two together, that's a good thing for Google Drive, and that improves the Google Drive ecosystem. So how were we going to do this? Well, we had a long think and we decided that we want to provide a platform for developers to be able to write applications that are as good and as complex and as effective as the Google Docs editors that exist, i.e. Docs, Spreadsheets, and Presentations, and the others. So we really wanted to provide this entire platform, and as you know, we've been bringing in bits and pieces, and gradually, as I'll show you by the end of the day, I think we're getting to a point where you can actually do that, which is exciting. So let's go back to April. What happened in April? Well, we launched the SDK version 1. Now this was quite a small chunk of what we have at the moment, and what it essentially did was allow your application to open files from Google Drive. So your icon would appear in Google Drive when a user right-clicks on a file that your application knows how to open. This is really useful for things like Microsoft project files, for example, where there are lots of them in Google Drive but no native editor. So we allowed those to be built. We launched in April with Google Drive at the same time, so that's really important. The platform was released as part of the main product, not an afterthought, really one of the principal driving things for the product. So we launched there with some key applications. There were 18 of them, and they all were able to open files from Google Drive. One example is HelloFax, which you can right-click on a PDF and you can just fax it to someone directly from Google Drive. This is the kind of value that we wanted to add by enabling the SDK. So what could you do? You could open files, you could edit them offline, and you could save them back to Drive. There were two types of files initially. One of them are binary files that are stored in Google Drive. Okay, that's like a standard file, text file, as I said, a project file, Excel files, whatever. But we also realized that at that point, you may have some different way of storing files. Your files may not be real files. They may be just columns in a database, for example. So we also produced this system that allows you to keep shortcuts in Google Drive. So there's no binary data stored there, but it's a shortcut that again will open correctly in your application. Okay, so we covered those bases. As I said, the API was quite small in scope. It allowed you to read files, save files, but nothing else. For all the other management functions of files and things in Google Drive, you would have to use the Documents List API, version 3 that's been around for a while. And I'll talk about how we gradually deprecated that. One really important thing we launched then with Google Drive SDK v1 is the file scope. Okay? Now, if I can explain that, by scope, I mean an OAuth 2 scope, and that is essentially how much permission you will give an application to access your Google Drive. Before this and many other solutions for cloud storage, when you get a token, when you authorize an application, you're really authorizing them to access your entire Google Drive. And that was the situation before. We didn't think that was ideal, really. You know, if you've got some photos somewhere and you've got some other files somewhere, you want to edit one of these photos, really that application should not have access to all your Google Drive. You may have sensitive stuff there. Obviously, most applications and the big applications are all very well behaved, but still this is a slight privacy gap that we didn't want users to have to go through. So we brought in this thing called the file scope. Now the file scope means that an application can only access the files either that it's created or that you've opened with that application. And by that we very much narrowed down the scope, this is why it's called a scope, to files which you explicitly say this application can access them. We found this was very good. Users responded well. So, you know, you might think, well, people don't care. They just click on the button, OK, grant access. But that's not actually the case, especially in corporate environments where really the things you're authorizing these applications to do are company secrets, you know, which that's just not a situation which you're allowed to even do. So that was the SDK version 1, and as soon as we launched it, we started working very hard on the SDK version 2. Now the SDK version 2 wanted to add functionality to the SDK version 1 that would allow you to perform complete file management, okay, and essentially replace the Documents List API version 3. So what kind of management of files could we have here? Well, obviously, when I say file management, uploading, downloading, but additional things, the changes feed. So you can subscribe, well, you can fetch a feed that lists all the changes that a user has done in their application. And that's really useful for synchronizing, making sure you don't download things that haven't changed, that kind of situation. There are revisions on files. So as you know, Google Drive is fully versioned like a version control system. When you make changes, there are revisions. You can access these different revisions and get the content for them. So great, so you've got a history. Applications can leverage this history to maybe roll back to a previous revision and things like that. Exporting of Google Documents, that's a feature that's available. So you can't actually download the native Google Docs or Google Sheets format because that doesn't really mean anything. It's not actually a file. It's one of those example of one of the shortcuts that I mentioned that it's really not quite, but rows in a table somewhere. So you can export them with the API to PDFs or to any other formats that are supported, you know, Excel or plain text, whatever you happen to have. And gradually we took these features, there are a few other ones, but gradually we tried to listen to what the community wanted, and especially the things that were missing from the Documents List API, and try to fill them out to have a complete replacement. And so over the year, we added features such as service account support. Now, service accounts are a way in which your application can perform without being manned, without a user there. So there are two cases here. One of them, you could have a service account for a domain, which is really useful for domain administrators to be able to access all the files or manage all the files for people working in a company, for example. The second one is application-owned accounts. So your application can own the account and essentially they become the user, and your file, the Google Drive, is owned by the application and is really useful for certain application-based storage. That application can share files out to individuals if they want, but really that's the choice of the application. Again, really useful and something which we had from the Documents List API. We gradually try to improve the authorization story. So when you authorize, when you open a file from Google Drive, before you were tied slightly to our authorization flow. And now you can provide your own authorization flow, i.e. vanilla OAuth 2, and you can get a token like that, and things still work. So these were all features which we were listening to you guys, and thank you for raising your feature requests. Really, it's something we try and listen to you guys, and we try and do the best we can. And as the year went on, we added some other features. For example, comment support. This was one of the longest standing feature requests I'd heard from the Documents List API, even back to versions 1, 2, and 3. And that was to be able to manage comments on files. So we added that feature. You can manage comments on native Google Documents. You can also add comments to your own files, so your own binary files, and you can anchor them however you like. There's a schema for anchoring, and I suggest if you're interested in that, you check it out. For example, a position on a photo could be illustrated by an X and a Y coordinates. That's an example of anchoring. Or in a text file, you might anchor to a line. So this is really for you to be able to add these features to your application. Again, back to the original point. We want your applications to be as good and as complex and as rich as the Google Docs applications. We don't want there to be any difference. That's our mission anyway. One of my favorite features was released towards the end of the year, and that was site publishing. So if you haven't seen, it's actually been one of our most popular features. Extremely simple. Inside Google Drive, you can put some files, make them publicly available, and then that's treated as a web directory. So relative links work, JavaScript works, CSS works, and it's really great for what I would call lightweight personal website publishing. A lot of applications popping up that use that, and we think that's really great. So if you have any feature requests about that, again, please get in touch with us. And towards the very end of the year, one thing we've been trying to do is really improve our mobile story. What do I mean by our mobile story? I mean the ability for you to write applications on mobile devices. Okay, we've concentrated for now on Android and iOS. We are really keen to provide equivalent, comparable experiences and good developer experiences on both those platforms. Okay, so we're really not favoring Android over iOS. We appreciate the needs of you, and that is that you probably want to write your application for both, or you may just want to write an iPhone app or whatever. That's really not our business. We want to make that experience as good as possible for you. And likewise, we do that with all the client libraries. So we have a .NET client library. If you like programming in .NET, that's great too. And also all the traditional, more Google library-based things like Java, Python, JavaScript, that kind of thing. So we really try to improve our mobile story to make that better. We have quick starts for both those platforms. So if you want to get started in 5 minutes, you can. And we have complete applications that do the same thing. Actually, they take a photo and they just upload them. But as you know, a full working complete application is better than a lot of docs in some way. You just unzip it, get it running, and then you can tweak it to do whatever you like. So we've tried to do that. Again, if there are any stumbling blocks, please get in touch with us. One more thing I wanted to mention is user interface components in the Drive SDK. Now, I've left this to last because it's really a key point. We try and provide you these user interface components to make your web apps better. Now, what do I mean by these components? Well, we have two. The first one is the picker, the file picker, which is essentially a file browser that you can open up with certain filters. You can customize the way it appears with sidebars or without sidebars. But this is a file browser that's branded Google-like and looks like Google Drive. And it has the ability to perform the open with that I was talking about. So that's the file picker. You can just embed this in your application with a few lines of code. Really, really useful. You don't need to write something to list and find the icon for each file and then redirect somewhere else and this kind of thing. It's there for you. Okay, that's the first one. The second one, we have a equivalent widget for sharing files. So as you do in Google Drive, when you click on the share button, it pops up a list of users, that kind of thing, and share them. You pick the ones you want to share and you choose what access you want, whether it's read access, write access, ability to comment or not, whether they get notifications. You can perform all that functionality from inside your own application. Okay, so we try to build these as shortcuts for your application to be able to use this functionality. Of course, if you want to write your own widget, that's absolutely fine too. But hopefully these will get you started and up and running quickly. Okay. to follow on from that, something we've tried to do to make it easy for you is how to discover applications. How does a user find your applications? How do they know that you have a file that opens images and you can edit images? How do you market that to people? Well, we use the Chrome Web Store for this, and in the Chrome Web Store you describe what kind of files you can open, and then from within Google Drive users can find these applications. So we find this is a really useful vector to get people to your application. Again, we're not just doing it because we're selfless and we love you. We do love you. We're doing it because that's a better experience for users. It's better for a user to see, oh, I can open this file if I install this free application that edits images, or say you want to add text to an image, captions. Well, that's we help you find them. So always for the user, improve the user and improve Google Drive. So that's really an overview of the year. It was vaguely in chronological order. It was just really a recap of the features we've created and the features we've added. As I say, we're always listening to you, so if you really miss some features or you want something, let us know. Okay? 2012, fantastic. What are our plans for 2013? Well, again, if I can go back to the mission, we want your applications to be as complex and as good as the Google Docs applications. So we do appreciate that at the moment, really you have an SDK, you have a few APIs, but it's not a complete platform. There are some areas which are lacking and some things which you can immediately think, hang on, how do I do the cool feature of Google Docs? Currently, well, you can't, but these are coming and we are committed to improving this experience. So what few things, if I can mention a few features, the first one is our collaborative platform. This was demoed at Google I/O this year, and it's really progressed a lot. What is it? Well, it's a way in which multiple users connected can collaborate on a file. Okay, it allows, it handles the shared data, it handles the conflict resolution, it handles delivering these messages of change, these events and these notifications of when data changes. It handles delivering all of them to the correct browser sessions at the right time. So this is exactly what you would see in Google Docs. You see the cursors moving around, someone's typing, someone else is typing. This is how that is performed, and we're providing that as a service. As I said, if you want to see the demo, check out Google I/O, but it has advanced a lot since then, and we really are trying to make it as simple and as comfortable to use as possible, at the same time making it as flexible to be able to integrate with your existing, whether you use frameworks, jQuery libraries or AngularJS. However deep you are into MVC in your JavaScript apps, we want to be able to integrate with that. So that's coming soon. Okay, we're really excited about that. In addition, we're trying to improve the platform around files. One feature we've really listened to people on is application-based data. So we're looking to provide a way in which applications can store data or files that really they own inside a Google Drive, inside a user's drive. So this will be essentially hidden from the user. They'll be able to delete it because you're using, it's their data really, and it will be using up quota. So if it gets large, they will want to delete it. But really it allows you to save files that your application owns, and you can use that to save various things. In addition to that, we want to provide metadata on files. That's your arbitrary data. You can decide any keys or any values, and you can just put them on the file. And again, this time the user can see that data, the user can share that data, that kind of thing. It's more user-based, but this will allow you to add your own tags, for example, to a file. Which we again think is really useful, but also somewhat lacking at the moment to make Google Drive into a full platform on which you can build something. So that's the metadata and the application data. In addition to that, we're looking to provide another long-asked feature, which is push notifications, which is when you subscribe to something, a file, when it changes, you are notified of change. So your application will be notified somehow. I won't go into the details, but again, we talked about this at Google I/O, and that's coming soon. So no more need to poll the changes feed. Has a file changed? You subscribe once, and then Google Drive will tell you, hey, look, this file has changed. Do you want to download the file again? You really can choose what you want to do based on the information you get. So that's another feature coming. And so those are features. In a general sense, we're really keen on trying to improve, as I said, the user experience. But one of the ways in which we're trying to do this at the moment is we really want to bring together mobile and web applications. So we think there's a discrepancy at the moment. An application might have a mobile version, a desktop version, and a web version. Now, why do people have to install all three? Well, these are open questions, really, but this is the general experience we're trying to fix. So once we have a better platform for you, we're going to try and improve the general integration of the whole thing. Okay? Again, I'm available always for questions, so if you really want to say, oh, no, please don't add that feature, just let me know, and I'll talk to you about that. So that's where we're going. Just a few reminders of ways in which you can get in touch with us and the community that we're trying to build around Google Drive SDK. Firstly, these video sessions, Google Developers Live, we do 2 a week. It's great of you, those who attend, and we hope you enjoy them. So that's that. Stack Overflow, we've migrated to a Stack Overflow support model this year. We've just found it way better because you get experts from all sides of computing who can contribute to the answers to your questions. It's really great, and we can have cross connections with, for example, the Java client library or various other APIs. So we're really enjoying that. We've had 1,000 questions almost on Stack Overflow, and we hope to answer your problems as soon as they come up. So talk to us on Stack Overflow. Thirdly, the Google Plus community we launched a few weeks ago. Thank you, there's been an amazing response there. We've got 2,700 and something members, and 10 to 15 to 20 posts a day. That's really great. We love engaging with you like that. We think Stack Overflow was somewhat lacking in this much more quick-term question and answer, or you just want to empty your mind into the community so people can know what you're thinking, or you just want to announce your application. These kind of things are great, and we're really happy with how that community is going. Again, if you're interested, check us out in the Google Drive SDK community on Plus, and come and say hello. We're always there. Finally, one thing we did this quarter is we had a workshop for some Google Drive potential customers. Now, we tried to pick and those who were interested were generally the better applications, big established applications, not really for people. It's not really a hackathon situation. But these people came out to Mountain View, to the Googleplex in California, and we had a fun couple of days where we tried to get people over the initial integration into their applications. You know what it's like when you're writing code. Something blocks you, and then you spend the next 2 hours trying to work out how to fix it. It's just one line of code. You're looking at docs, and they link to other docs, and they link to other docs. And you don't waste all this time because it's all learning, but it does take a lot of time. So we tried to cut that out by having Google engineers available on the spot. If you're interested, we will be having future sessions. If you are interested, please, again, let us know, and we'll see if we can accommodate you in our future workshops. Okay? So that's been us, 2012. We look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you very much for coming, and have a merry holidays. If you're on vacation, enjoy them. If you're working, don't work too hard. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.